You're a weary sailor on a British warship in 1790, caught slipping rum from the stores. The deck sways as you're dragged to the mast, shirt torn off, hands bound. The bosun lifts the cat-o, Nantells, its 9 knotted cords swaying like vipers. The first flash sears your back, pain exploding as the crew watches in silence. This is the whip that ruled the sea's ruthless enforcer of order on the waves. The sun blazes over the Nile's banks in ancient Egypt, 2000 BCE, where laborers toil under the shadow of half-built pyramids. A man named Khepri, sweat-soaked and weary, falters under his load of stone. The overseer, eyes narrowed, signals for discipline. Khepri is dragged to a clearing, his tunic ripped away, revealing a back already scarred from years of labor. The tool is a multi-tailed whip, its leather strands knotted to mimic a cat's claws, a crude ancestor of the cat-o, Nantells. The first strike lands, each tail biting into flesh, drawing thin lines of blood. Khepri grits his teeth, his gasps drowned by the river's hum. Workers pause, watching, as the whip cracks again, the sound echoing like a warning drum. This isn't just punishment, it's a ritual of control, assuring the pharaohs will bind thousands. The whip's origins lie here, in Egypt's dust, where pain enforces order, and its public nature sears obedience into every onlooker's heart. Centuries roll forward to ancient Rome, 200 BCE, where the bustling port of Ostia hums with trade. A slave named Lucius, caught pilfering grain from a merchant's ship, is hauled to the docks. The crowd parts as he's tied to a wooden post, his back bared to the salty breeze. The lictor, a grim enforcer, wields the flagellum, a whip with multiple leather tails, some tipped with bone. Lucius flinches as the first lash lands, the tails fanning out, each leaving a welt that stings like fire. Blood trickles, staining the dock stones, as sailors and traders watch, some whispering, others nodding approval. Rome's navy, patrolling the Mediterranean, adopts this tool for its galleys. Aboard a warship off Carthage, a rower, slow to pull, feels the flagellum's bite. The whip's sharp cracks keep time with the oars, its pain ensuring no man falters. From Egypt's simple scourge, the whip evolves, its tails multiplying, its reach extending across seas to bind Rome's growing empire. The Middle Ages dawn, and the whip sails into new waters. In 1350, a Genoese merchant ship rocks in the Atlantic, its crew battling stormy waves. A deckhand named Marco, caught stealing salted fish, is summoned to the main deck. The captain, stern and withered, orders the whip no call the cat for its claw-like tails. Marco's hands are tied to the mast, his shirt stripped away. The whip, with 5 knotted cords, is drawn from a sack, its handle worn from use. The first lash lands, tearing skin, as Marco's cries mix with the howling wind. The crew, huddled in oilskins, watches silently, knowing the cat enforces survival on this floaty world. European navies, Venetian, Spanish, Portuguese embrace it, each tweaking the design. In Seville's shipyards, craftsmen break thicker ropes, adding knots for impact. The cat's reputation grows, whispered in taverns from Lisbon to London, a tool that keeps men in line where swords alone fail. By the 17th century, the British Navy claims the cat as its own. In 1660, off Plymouth's coast, a frigate prepares for a voyage to the New World. A sailor named Tom, barely 18, is caught tricking his watch. The bosun, a grizzled veteran, pulls the cat-o, Nantells, from its red base back. The Navy's standard issue, Tom is lashed to the Gradingo wooden frame on deck, his back pale under the morning sun. The whip's 9 tails, each with 3 knots, gleam with waxed hemp. The first strike draws a sharp gasp, blood beating across his skin. Each slash is counted aloud. The crew standing in rigid ranks, their faces a mix of fear and relief. It's not them. The British refine it, 9 tails, symbolizing naval tradition, with a sturdy handle for control. Admiralty records mandate its use for crimes like theft or insubordination, ensuring every ship carries this dread enforcer. Tom's punishment, though brutal, is precise 12 lashes, enough to scar but not kill, preserving manpower for the empire's wars. The cat's shadow stretches to the horrors of the slave trade. In 1720, a slaver ship cuts through the Atlantic, its hull packed with chained captives. A man named Kwame, defiant after weeks in darkness, refuses to eat. The crew drags him topside, where the cat awaits, its leather tails embedded with wire for extra cruelty. Kwame is bound to the rigging, his back exposed to the humid air. The overseer swings, the whip's tail slicing deep, blood dripping to the deck. Captives below hear his screams, their own spirits breaking. The cat, borrowed from naval designs, becomes a staple on slavers, its public use crushing resistance. In ports like Bristol, merchants not approval, the whip's efficiency protecting their grain trade. Kwame's wounds fester in the salt air, a reminder of the cat's reach beyond naval decks to the empire's darkest corners. By the Napoleonic Wars, 1805, the cat Ninetales reigned supreme on HMS Victory. Preparing for Trafalgar, a gunner named Will faces the whip for drunkenness. The deck is cleared, the crew assembled under Nelson's gaze. Will is tied, the cat shaken out with ceremony. Its 9 tails, each knotted meticulously, crack like thunder, blood spraying with each hit. Will's groans fade, his back a raw canvas of welts. The spectacle, watched by hundreds, reinforces discipline before battle. From Egypt's ancient scourge to this naval masterpiece, the cat Ninetales has evolved into a symbol of maritime power, its knotted tails ruling empires by fear, ensuring no mad sailor, slave, or rebel defies the sea's unforgiving law. The Atlantic churns under a stormy sky. In 1750, waves, crashing against the hull of a British merchantman, slicing through the gray. A sailor named Jem, caught pilfering from the captain's stores, is dragged to the quarterdeck, his wrists bound with coarse rope. The boatswain, a weathered man with calloused hands, unveils the cat Ninetales from its red baize back. The whip is a marvel of cruel design, a foot-long handle, braided hemp wrapped in red cloth for grip, sprouting 9 to-foot tails, each knotted 3 times to maximize pain. Jem is tied to the capstan, his back bared to the salty wind. The first lash lands, the tails fanning out like a venomous spray. Knots digging into flesh, blood beads instantly, trickling down his spine as Jem's body jerks, a choked cry escaping his lips. The crew watches, silent, as the boatswain swings again, each strike precise. The whip's mechanics engineered for agony, without swift death. The cat's tails whip through the air, the knots strike it like small hammers, leaving a lattice of welts that burn in the sea air. This is no random tool. Its construction and use are a science of suffering, perfected to keep order on the lawless seas. In a bustling Portsmouth shipyard, 1785, a boatswain's mate labors in a dim workshop, crafting a new cat Ninetales under Royal Navy orders. The Admiralty demands fresh whips for each flogging to prevent infection. Though the real goal is fresh terror, he selects the hemp rope, unraveling it into 9 strands, each measured to feet. With practiced hands, he ties 3 knots per tail, spacing them to ensure each strike spreads pain evenly. The handle is braided tightly, wrapped in red baize for a firm hold, its weight balanced to prevent strain on the wielder. The finished cat is stored in a red bag, its presence alone enough to quiet rowdy sailors on board. When the captain calls for punishment, the boatswain shakes it out with deliberate ceremony, inspecting each knot for sharpness. A thief, tied to the grating for stealing rum, fuse the cat's precision. The tails accelerate through the swing, knots burrowing into skin, drawing blood with surgical accuracy. The design ensures every lash counts, the pain radiating long after the whip falls silent. Aboard a slave ship off the Guinea coast, 1795, the cat takes a darker form. The whip, adapted from naval models, uses leather tails, some embedded with wire for extra cruelty. A captive named Amar, who dared strike an overseer, is spread-eagled on the main deck, her wrists lashed to the rigging. The overseer, a cold-eyed man, wields the cat with measured force, delivering up to 50 lashes for being the Navy's limit of 12 for minor crimes. The tail slices through the humid air, knots tearing into Amara's back, blood pooling on the weathered planks. Each strike overlaps, creating a crisscross of raw flesh, the design amplifying suffering to break resistance. The crew watches, impassive, as her cries pierce the ocean's roar, the whip's mechanics ensuring she survives to endure more days in chains. The cat's efficiency lies in its balance, severe enough to terrify, controlled enough to preserve labor for the voyage ahead. During the War of 1812, on an American frigate battling British ships, the cat mirrors its English cousin, a sailor named Caleb, we captured after deserting, is bound to the grating under a blazing sun. To us Navy, adopting British traditions, allows up to 12 lashes without court-martial. In Caleb's crime earns the maximum. The bosun alternates sides, ensuring even distribution of pain. The cat's 9 tails, hemp wax for extra sting, whistle through the air, not striking with pinpoint force. Caleb's back blooms with welts, blood seeping as he bites his tongue to stifle screams. The whip's design flexible tails, heavy knots, sturdy handle concentrates agony, each lash targeting nerves and muscle. The crew, lined along the deck, witnesses the spectacle. The cat's mechanics reinforcing discipline amid the chaos of war. Caleb's wounds, salted afterward to clean them, burn for days, a testament to the whip's calculated cruelty. In the Indian Ocean, 1825, an East India Company ship glides through turquoise waters, its crew a mix of British and Lascar sailors. A deckhand named Ravi, accused of insubordination, faces the cat below decks to muffle his cries from nearby ports. This whip is customized, tails waxed for a sharper snap, handle bound in leather for durability. The bosun's swing is a practiced arc, delivering force that tears skin without breaking bones. Ravi's body trembles, knots burrowing into his back, blood staining his worn tunic. The cat's design ensures each lash is felt deeply, the pain lingering as a warning to others post-flooding. The crew rubs salt into his wounds, a naval tradition to heal but really to amplify torment. The whip's mechanics are ruthless, built to punish efficiently, while keeping the ship's workforce intact. On a whaling ship in the Pacific, 1845, the cat reaches its final form. A harpooner named Elias, drunk during a hunt, is flogged at the mainmast. The whip, now sometimes made with catgut for flexibility, is a masterpiece of maritime cruelty. Its 9 tails, each knotted 3 times, are lighter but no less brutal. Designed for precision on rolling decks, Elias is tied, his shirt discarded, as the captain oversees the punishment. The bosun's swing is steady, the tails cracking like gunfire, knots flaying skin in thin strips. Elias' body jerks with each hit, blood dripping to the deck, the pain radiating like fire through his frame. The crew, hardened by years at sea, watches in silence, knowing the cat's mechanics, its balance, its reach, its calculated knots make it the ultimate enforcer. From ancient Egypt's crude scourge to this refined instrument, the cat o' 9 tails wields misery with mechanical perfection, ruling every ship it touches. The Caribbean Sea glimmers under a scorching sun in 1705, waves lapping against a pirate-hunted sloop cutting through turquoise waters. Tom, a cabin boy of 14, barely old enough to grow a beard, is caught dancing during his watch. The captain, a grizzled man with eyes like steel, orders him dragged to the main deck. Tom's thin shirt is ripped away, his wrists bound to the wheel spokes, his back pale and trembling. The bosun lifts the cat o' 9 tails, its 9 knotted tails glinting in the light. The first lash cracks, knots tearing into Tom's tender skin, drawing sharp lines of blood. His small frame arches, a cry escaping as the second strike lands, overlapping the first. Blood trickles down his legs, pooling on the weathered deck. The crew, a ragtag mix of hardened sailors, stands in silence, Their faces unreadable. Tom's not a criminal, just a boy exhausted from endless shifts. But the cat doesn't care. Each lash scars his back and spirit, marking him as another victim of the sea's brutal code. Off the African coast in 1785, a slave ship groans under the weight of its human cargo. Kofi, a young man stolen from his village, refuses his moldy rations in a quiet act of defiance. The overseer, face hardened by years of cruelty, has him hauled topside. Kofi's wrists are lashed to the rigging, his back exposed to the humid air. The cat, its leather tails tipped with wire, descends with a sickening snap. Knots burrow into muscle, blood spraying with each strike. Kofi's body convulses, sweat mixing with blood as his screams pierce the ocean's hum. Below, other captives hear, their own hopes dimming. The overseer delivers 50 lashes, far beyond naval limits, each one a calculated blow to crush resistance. Kofi, once a warrior with dreams of home, slumps against the ropes, his back a raw mess. The crew averts their eyes, but the whip's work is done. Kofi's spirit bends, another soul broken by the cat's relentless bite. In the English Channel, 1805, HMS Bellerophon sails toward Trafalgar, its decks alive with the clatter of war preparations. James, a press sailor torn from London's docks, snaps at an officer's in a moment of homesick frustration. The captain, unyielding, sentences him to be doused in lashes. James is marched to the grating, a wooden frame raised for all to see. His shirt is stripped, his arms tied wide, his back bared to the chilly breeze. The boatswain swings the cat, its hemp tails waxed for extra sting, and the first lash lands like fire, splitting skin. James bites his lip, blood welling in his mouth as he fights to stay silent. Each knot leaves a welt, blood seeping down his spine, the pain building with every strike. The crew, lined in rigid ranks, watches, some wincing, others staring blankly. James isn't anywhere near, just a man longing for home, but the cat claims him anyway. His wounds, salted afterward, burn for days, infection looming as he staggers below. Another ordinary soul scarred by naval law. The Pacific, 1830, a convict transport ship, bound for Australia, creaks under a starry sky. Mary, a young woman convicted of stealing bread to feed her children, is caught fighting another prisoner over a scrap of cloth. The captain, a stern man enforcing colonial order, orders a rare flogging for a woman. Mary is led to the deck, her wrists loosely bound to a rail, her shoulders exposed. The cat, lighter but no less cruel, cracks across her back, knots raising welts on her skin. Mary's tears fall silently, her body trembling as the pain radiates. The crew, mostly men, looks away, uncomfortable but powerless. Mary's crime was born of desperation, her life already chained by exile, but the whip adds another layer of suffering. Back in the hold, she curls around her wounds, her thoughts on her children far away, another victim of the cat's unyielding reach. In the Mediterranean, 1840, a Turkish trading ship under British influence sails through calm waters. Ahmed, a deckhand from a coastal village, steals a sip of water from the captain's stores during a scorching day. The first mate, trained in British ways, orders the cat. Ahmed is tied to the mast, his ropes torn to reveal his back. The whip, adopted from European designs, lashes down, its knots biting deep. Blood stains his clothing, his faith sustaining him through gritted teeth. Ahmed's crime was survival, a moment of thirst in a parched world, but the cat shows no mercy. The crew, a mix of locals and foreigners, watches, their silence heavy. Ahmed's body sacks, the pain etching lines of endurance on his face. Another simple worker claimed by the whip's indifferent cruelty. During the American Civil War, 1863, the USS Monitor steams along a Union River, its ironclad hull gleaming. Enoch, a free black sailor who enlisted to fight for freedom, is late to his post after a sleepless night. The captain, clinging to old naval codes, orders 6 lashes. Enoch is bound to a makeshift grating, his back bared to the river breeze. The cat, still legal in the Navy, tears across his skin, knots echoing the scars of slavery. He thought he'd escaped. Enoch endures, his eyes fixed on the horizon, dreaming of a free future. The crew, a mix of black and white sailors, watches uneasily, aware of the whip's bitter history. Enoch's pain, though brief, binds him to countless others, a fighter for justice, marked by the cat's enduring cruelty. The deck of HMS Victory pitches with the Atlantic swell in 1805, cannons gleaming as the crew prepares for Trafalgar. A gunner named Robert, caught pilfering powder to sell ashore, is marched to the quarterdeck. The ship's bell clangs, summoning all hands. Robert's shirt is stripped, his wrists tied to the grating wooden frame propped like a grim stage. The captain, face stern under his bicorn hat, reads the charge aloud. Theft, a betrayal of the crew. Drums roll, a slow beat echoing over the waves. The bosun shakes the cat-o' nine tails from its red bag, its 9 knotted tails catching the sunlight. The first lash cracks like a pistol shot, blood spraying as Robert's back arches, a muffled groan escaping. The crew, lined in rigid ranks, watches in silence, their faces a mix of fear and duty. Each strike of the cat, its knots tearing skin, binds them tighter to the ship's warder. Robert's blood drips onto the deck, the spectacle a vivid lesson. No crime escapes the whip's reach, not even on the eve of battle. In a foggy Liverpool harbor, 1790, a merchant ship readies for a voyage to the Indies. A sailor named Henry, drunk on stolen gin, stumbles during muster. The captain, eager to set sail, orders a public flogging to set the tone. Henry is dragged to the main deck, his coat torn off, arms bound to a capstan. The crew forms a tight circle, their breath visible in the damp air. The mate, gripping the cat-o' nine tails, delivers the first lash, the tails whistling before splitting Henry's skin. Blood trickles, staining the deck's weathered planks. The crowd sailors, dockhands, even a few passengers murmurs, some wincing, others nodding approval. Henry's cries mix with the gulls' calls, each lash a beat in the rhythm of discipline. The spectacle, staged where all can see, ensures the crew's obedience as they sail into perilous waters, the cat's cracks echoing in their minds, long after the blood is scrubbed away. Off Jamaica's coast in 1810, a slave ship steams through tropical heat, its hold heavy with chained captives. A young man named Cressy, caught trying to loosen his shackles, is hauled topside. The overseer, sweat-soaked and impatient, orders a flogging to quell any rebellion. Cressy is spread-eagled against the rigging, his back bared to the blazing sun. The cat, its leather tails tipped with wire, descends with a sickening snap, knots ripping into flesh. Blood drips through the deck's cracks, drawing sharks below. The other captives, forced to watch from the hold's hatch, stand in silent horror, their eyes locked on Cressy's writhing form. The crew, hardened by the trade, keeps order, their faces blank. The overseer's swings are deliberate, each lash a public performance to crush hope. Cressy's screams fade, but the spectacle lingers, the whip's power binding the ship in fear as it sails toward profit. Sydney Cove, 1825, buzzes with settlers as a convict transport ship anchors. A prisoner named Ellen, convicted of theft in London, is caught defying the ship's surgeon. The captain, keen to assert colonial authority, orders her flogged on desk, a rare punishment for a woman. Ellen is led out, her wrists tied lightly to a rail, her shoulders exposed under a thin shift. The cat, lighter but cruel, cracks across her back, knots raising welts that glisten in the morning light. Her gasps draw away, crowd sailors, convicts, even curious settlers ashore. Some whisper in sympathy, others in judgment, but all feel the weight of the spectacle. The bosun's lashes, counted aloud, echo over the water, a public display ensuring tales of discipline spread through the fledgling colony. Ellen's pain, though fleeting, cements the cat's role as a tool of order, its reach extending from sea to shore. During the Opium Wars in 1840, a British gunboat prowls the Yangtze River. Its crew stands under Chinese scrutiny. A local interpreter, named Liang, suspected of passing secrets, faces the cat. The captain orders the flogging on deck, where the riverbank's villagers can see. Liang is tied to a makeshift grating, his ropes torn to reveal his back. The cat's tails, waxed for sharpness, whistle through the humid air, knots tearing skin with each strike. Blood stains the deck. Liang's cries carrying to the shore. The crew lines the rails, their faces stern, while locals peer from the banks, whispering of British power. The spectacle, staged on the river's stage, asserts dominance over both crew and onlookers. The whips cracks a language of control understood across cultures. In the Arctic's icy grip, 1850, a whaling ship creaks amid floes, its crew bundled in furs. A harpooner named Olaf, caught brawling over whale shares, is flogged at the mainmast. The captain, isolated in this froncing world, demands absolute loyalty. Olaf's coat is stripped, his arms bound as the cat is drawn from its bag. The tails, stiff with cold, crack against his back, knots drawing blood that freezes in red beads on the deck. The crew forms a tight circle, their breath clouding in the frigid air, watching the spectacle in silence. Olaf's groans, sharp and brief, fade into the wind's howl. The flogging, though far from civilization, reinforces the captain's rule. The cat's public ritual binding the crew in a world where survival hinges on order. The Thames glimmers under gaslights in 1881, its banks lined with London's bustling crowds. Inside Parliament stone halls, a weathered sailor named John, his back a map of faded scars, stands before lawmakers. His voice trembles as he recounts a flogging from decades past. The cat night-tails tearing his youth apart for a minor infraction. The chamber listens, some MPs shifting uncomfortably, as John's words fuel a growing call for reform. The Royal Navy, once ruled by the whip, suspended flogging in peacetime by 1879, and now faces its full abolition. On the docks outside, old sailors swap tales of the cat's terror, their stories immortalized in novels like Melville's Billy Budd, where a young sailor's lash-induced tragedy haunts readers. John's testimony, raw and human, helps bury the cat, but its shadow lingers in the weathered faces of men like him, nursing wounds in taverns, their scars a testament to a brutal era fading into history. Across the Atlantic, 1865, the American Civil War's end brings change to the U.S. Navy. Aboard a Union steamer, a sailor named Samuel, flogged years earlier for tardiness, died of infection, his case sparking outrage in newspapers. The U.S. Navy, mirroring British reforms, limited flogging in 1850, but Samuel's death pushes for more. By the 1880s, the cat is banned, its red bag retired to dusty storage. Enoch, a black sailor who endured the whip in 1863, now free and aging, tells his children of the cat's cruelty, linking it to slavery's chains. In port towns like Boston, maritime museums display the whip's knotted tails, their captions explaining a shift to modern discipline-ridden reprimands, not welts. Enoch's descendants carry his story, the cat a symbol of oppression overcome, its legacy etched in their fight for justice. In colonial India, 1900, a new century stirs rebellion. A sepoy named Arjun, grandson of a lashed soldier, stands in a crowded bazaar, his voice rising against British rule. His grandfather's scars, earned under the cat for refusing orders, fuel Arjun's defiance. The whip's memory, vivid in tales told by firelight, sparks resistance across villages. In literature, Kipling's stories capture the cat's psychological grip, its lashes turning pain into protest. The British Navy's abolition doesn't erase its mark. In Calcutta streets, crowds rally, the cat's shadow a reminder of imperial cruelty. Arjun's speeches, fiery and bold, with the whip into a narrative of freedom. It's not a tales no longer striking but inspiring. In the muddy trenches of World War I, 1916, a naval officer named Thomas huddles in a dugout, rain drumming above. He recalls his grandfather's tales of floggings on creaking ships, the cat's cracks mingling with cannon fire. The modern Navy, now reliant on morale, has no place for such brutality. Thomas's men, bonded by shared hardship, follow orders out of loyalty, not fear. The cat, obsolete, lives on in naval slang. No room to swing a cat. It's terror diluted to a phrase. In officers' messes, old law books mention the whip, but new codes emphasize discipline through respect. The cat's legacy, a cautionary tale of power's abuse. By the mid-20th century, 1950, international maritime laws banned corporal punishment at sea. A retired captain named Edward, sipping tea in a Portsmouth pub, reflects on his youth's last floggings. The cat, once a deck's dread, is now a relic. Its use unthinkable in a world of regulated labor. Yet in rogue corners and scrupulous merchant ships, where lawless ports whispers of illegal whippings persist, the cat's ghost refusing to fade entirely. Edward's memories, shared with young sailors, warn of a time when pain ruled, urging vigilance against cruelties returned. In a quiet museum in 2020, visitors pause before a glass case in Greenwich, where a cat o' 9 tails rests, its hemp tails brittle with age. A guy, voice steady, recounts its journey from Egypt's ancient scourges to naval dominance, then to abolition. Children listen, wide-eyed, as she links the whip to lessons of power and reform. Outside, the Thames flows, once carrying ships where the cat ruled. Now, its legacy endures not in use but in story, as of sailors like John, slaves like Enoch, rebels like Urgent, each a reminder of humanity's capacity for cruelty and its struggle to rise above it. The cat, once the sea's tyrant, lies silent. It's not a tales, a relic of a world moving toward mercy. Hey everyone, that's the end of our journey through Cat o' 9 Tails, the whip that ruled the seas. If this tale gripped you, smash that like button and subscribe for more dives into history's darkest waves. Drop a comment below what's another maritime story you want us to explore. Your support keeps these sagas sailing, so hit that bell and join us next time.